So my name's Jack Greenfield. I'm an engineer at Google, and my interest has been for a long time and still is application configuration. So one of the themes of the conference here has been that Kubernetes is about raising the level of abstraction. You're working with applications. You're not just thinking about machines, right? Obviously, we care about the infrastructure, but we care more about the applications that run on that infrastructure. And what Kubernetes does is make it application-centric, which is very exciting to us. We're interested in exploring application architecture, application topology and design, and driving configuration, not just at the level of infrastructure, but at the level of application components, how they wire up, what their dependencies are. And so 3 weeks ago, I don't know if Patrick mentioned this, I don't think he did, but Kit approached Kismatic and our team and said, hey, how'd you guys like to put together some UI for a little demo down in San Francisco? So 3 weeks ago, we set out from scratch, and the Kismatic team built the Chrome and the dashboard pieces that you've seen, and our team built this graph. And like he said, it was very fast-paced and a lot of fun. In fact, the designer who came on board initially didn't have much time to give to our project. He was fully involved elsewhere. But he got so excited by the speed of development that he started working around the clock. And so he was able to give us lots of great feedback. That said, we still have a lot to do, so please bear with us on the any sort of rendering or styling issues needs work. But overall, what you're looking at is a graph control using D3. Again, it's the Angular material design the Angular framework, material design look and feel. And what this is all about is visualizing your cluster. So this is actually running against live data. And I'm actually going to try and hit the internet here, despite all the smartphones in the audience, and see if we can fetch some live data. And it doesn't look like we can. But that's okay, because I actually have canned data that I can use instead. And when I fetch the data, it re-renders the graph for me. But the interesting thing about this is that I can, if I want to, play with this. And so one of the things we're thinking about is, how do people want to visualize things? How do they want to understand their cluster? So here we have the cluster in the center. We have a number of nodes, which are these larger red ones. We have replication controllers, which are these guys. We have services, which are these guys. We have pods, which are these guys. We have containers, which are these blue guys. And then these are the processes that are running in the container. Okay? What's kind of cool about this is you can sort of see this in the legend, and if you wanted to say, get rid of the clusters and the nodes, and maybe the images, you can see here the images that all the containers are running, right? Well, not so interested in the images. So let me just focus on the things that are really exciting: containers, pods, services, replication controllers, and keep the processes around for good measure. What we can do now with this visualization is we can select things and look at them. So for example, we can zoom in on a particular piece of this. Now we're still playing with this, but one of the things we've thought we would do is take the selection and throw away everything else, right? Or just keep the selection. Just give you ways of exploring the structure that's here, right? The other interesting thing that we decided to do was give you a way to zoom in on details. So when you've selected something, you can see the details of the selected node over here on the left-hand side, and these details are sort of a digest, if you will. Oftentimes, you're going to want to see the whole shoot match. So you can come over here and scroll on down and get into all of the information that's available about the node, which, for example, for a container includes all the environment variables. So here they are, right? So it's kind of a nice way to poke around a little bit. A couple of nice styling things that one of our engineers did was pinning things. So you can sort of lay the diagram out the way you like. I'm just showing you this because it's an illustration of the kinds of things that you can start to do when you have a framework like the framework this app provides. and you can play with it. So we're hoping that other people in the community will build tabs. And it is like Patrick said, you can just build a tab and drop it in. You don't have to edit any of the shared application infrastructure. All you do is set up your manifest, all of your own assets, controllers, services, modules, etc., and you're off to the races. The interesting thing here about this is that now that we've done it, we're starting to notice issues. So we began to see when we were fetching live data that it was actually jumping around a lot when we fetch stuff. And we were wondering, why is the cluster churning so much? Well, come to find out that one of the containers, it's actually the Redis master container, was dying and getting restarted. And this led to the discovery of an actual issue, which is being investigated now by the Kubernetes team. Interesting thing about this data, there's a lot of it. It's easier to get your head around your cluster when you can sort of see it as a picture, if you will, and explore it. And so we'd like to also turn this into more of an application-oriented view by labeling. So one of the things I did want to show you guys is how we get this information. So it turns out that we're actually, first let me go over here and show you the raw feed. Okay, so it turns out, how many people here have actually tried to pull information programmatically from Kubernetes clusters to do stuff with it? Yeah, okay. You know it's not easy, yeah. There's a number of different APIs, and Kubernetes and Docker are sort of different sources of information, and you sort of have to reason over the data to correlate the stuff that you get back from each of these APIs. And so we have a team that built the back end for this. A gentleman named Vaz Bala and another gentleman named Eran Gaber built a container that you can drop into a cluster which pulls the metadata from all the different APIs, synthesizes it into a single graph, and feeds it up. It's very cool. So what we did was we took that and we wrote a nice little JSON path and JavaScript filter. And this filter is very simple, but it allows you to project the data the way you want. So for example, if I wanted to see the graph with all the IP addresses, portal IP for the service and host IP for the pod, et cetera, I could just map it that way. And this data and the transform will be available for other tabs to use as well. The other thing I wanted to say here is that it was a good-sized team that built this. A guy named Matt Duftler built the D3 visualization, and we had another guy named Xin Zhang who built the details view for when you've selected a node and you want to go look at the details here. And a gentleman named Zach Wise helped a little bit with the legend layout and the nice sort of collapsing of details here. And I'm probably forgetting somebody. But that was the core team. So it was a collaborative effort, a lot of fun, had a great time with Kismatic. If anyone is interested in dropping in a tab or getting at the data using the container that I talked about, or doing anything else with these technologies, please look up me or Patrick Riley from Kismatic or BC Broussard from Kismatic afterwards.